The perspectives shared by the participants in this podcast are solely their own and not intended as medical advice. For any health issues, we strongly recommend seeking guidance from a licensed professional.
Hi everyone, welcome back to Rare Realities with Madimo Mimo Mokgosi, where we dive into the emotional journeys of individuals living with rare realities, where we tell one story at a time. Imagine going to the doctor and coming back with a diagnosis that it can either be cured, cannot be cured. Now you have to live with it for the rest of your life. I'm not alone, of course. I am with PP the girl, Palesa. She was waiting. She was waiting. Palesa, please introduce yourself. And Palesa is living with lupus. Please tell us about yourself and the condition that you live with.
Hi, everybody. I am Palesa Ramakatsa, and somebody likes calling me PP, Petunia. But yeah, I am a lupus survivor. I'm a mother. I'm a fiance. I am a small business entrepreneur. Yes, girl. I am a professional, and also I'm academic,
Yeah.
Lupus.
You.
I have been officially diagnosed with lupus in 2022. Prior to that, I got hospitalized in 2021, shortly after giving birth. I had difficulty in muscle pain, joint pain. I was struggling to get out of a bathtub. It was really a lot, So I called my gynae because at that time I thought I'm having challenges due to the epidural because I had a cesarean.
Okay.
So my doctor was like, I come in, Palesa, let's just come and have a look at you and just see what is wrong with you. So she booked me into hospital. I had a series of tests run on me. And at that time, the only diagnosis that could pick up at that point was polymyositis. So polymyositis is an autoimmune disease that attacks your muscles.
Oh,
So at that time, I received treatment for that. But shortly after that, I didn't get better, I was like in and out of hospital. So the doctor was like, you know what, let's bring in a rheumatologist, a physician to get more tests done on you so that we can determine what is wrong with you. It is at that point where a series of antibody tests were done on me, different tests were done on me, my medical history, they had to sit with me, speak to me, and understand what could possibly be wrong with me. So when my results came back, it came positive for markers for an autoimmune disease. So they had to do more tests, but unfortunately, they could not do a biopsy because during that hospitalization, I also had a pulmonary embolism. So it was clots, so they could not obviously operate because with a biopsy, they need to operate a little with you just to get the incision to test and for the disease itself. So I then got diagnosed with lupus, and for me, it was a shocker. It was a shocker because I was not very much familiar with the disease,
Okay.
there's not a lot of information out on the disease, So I started now going through social media, trying to read as much as I could because my life changed drastically.
So
with
this is
lupus.
after you had a baby.
It's after I had a baby. And to be honest with you, just to take you back a little, with lupus, you can get lupus from various things. It could be environmental factors, hormonal factors. It could be genetics. Could be also even a virus, that can activate because obviously it's laying dormant in you. So if ever you have the markers for an antibody test, it can be triggered by something like a virus. And at that time, for me, the trigger was COVID. I had COVID while I was pregnant and I was not aware. So when they did the antibody test, they saw that I had COVID as well. And then they did the antibody test. They discovered that I've got markers for an autoimmune disease. So that's when my journey with lupus started. Yes.
So somehow it's a good thing that you got diagnosed with COVID.
Yes.
So
and
that-
also the pregnancy. because you must understand as well, one of the things that can get you to the lupus to show
To
itself,
trigger.
to trigger
Oh,
it,
okay.
could be something that could be impacting on your life, a shock on your body,
Yeah.
a pregnancy, a delivery, changes in your body can actually
Yeah.
trigger that. So at that point for me, it was the pregnancy, it was the COVID, and then voila, at the end of
And
the
did
day,
it
the
affect the
lupus.
baby
No,
by any
the
chance?
baby is fine. The baby is well. The baby is now 5 years old, turning 5 this year.
Of course,
My
COVID.
cutie, my
COVID
COVID
baby.
baby.
It's a COVID baby.
You know,
It's a co- yeah.
he's perfectly fine. He doesn't have challenges. The only thing is he was born before his due date.
Oh, okay.
Yes, he was born before his due date. So, but other than that, he is a healthy, bubbly young little boy.
But I hear like the pre-babies are like the smartest.
Yeah, we're not.
So I guess that's why he's like an early bird
Yes, correct.
who didn't catch the aliens were but caught.
Girl.
But yeah. So for someone who, let's say, explain lupus to a 5-year-old, because I don't think anybody understand. And when I tell you how serious lupus is, guys, when I say my biggest health fears are cancer and lupus, because I feel like lupus attacks you in a way that, one, like because it's an autoimmune condition, it's you just don't know what's going to happen next. So please explain it as if you're explaining it to a 5-year-old.
To a 5-year-old. I'm gonna
I'm
try
the
my
5-year-old.
best. I'm gonna try my best to explain it in the most simplest manner ever.
Yeah.
You understand that your immune system is meant to fight bacteria, viruses, all foreign objects that are meant to attack your body,
Yeah.
right? So with lupus, the challenging part about it is it cannot differentiate even your good tissues, you understand? So what it does is if your immune system is strong, it attacks your organs, and the organ, it may be your brain and skin. Funny enough, there's this friend of mine that always says skin is in an organ as well, because it can attack your skin as well.
Yeah.
It can attack your kidneys, your liver, you know, your joint muscles, you know. So it's even so scary that it can take your life.
So it attacks
You
every
know,
part of your
it
body.
attacks every part of your body. You must understand there's different types of lupus, but the most common one is the SLE. It's the one that I have as well, that attacks any part of your body, any organ. So once it cements itself on a particular organ, it attacks it, and it may be fatal. So I understand when you say it's a scary condition, because you must understand that there is no cure for it.
Yeah.
There's only treatment for it. And unfortunately, sadly, most people like myself, there was not enough data on it that I could read and understand when I started having my symptoms that there's a possibility of this type of condition. So fortunately enough, I managed to get diagnosis, and I also managed to get the required treatment to get to where I am today. But not everybody is fortunate like that.
Yeah.
Especially if I have to be honest with you, Mimo, people who get public health care, they struggle a lot.
True.
They struggle a lot, and most of the time it ends in unnecessary fatalities because they don't get the required treatment. So I regard myself as that small percentage that was able, because I've got medical insurance, that's able to go out there, get the necessary tests done, and afterwards get also the required treatment.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel it is so sad that a lot of people suffer from autoimmune diseases, but they are misdiagnosed. With you, please take us through your emotional journey at that time. First, the doctor just told you that you now have lupus. The same time, you just had a baby. Like, what's going through your mind at that time?
It was a lot. It was a lot because I had just been engaged. I just gotten a baby.
Yeah.
I'm being told that I have got this life altering chronic condition that I need to now step into and take care of myself better and realign my life in line with this new condition. What was most difficult for me is handing over my 3-month-old baby to my parents so that they're able to take care of my boy, because I could not.
Yeah.
I could not, I always say, good health is an underrated blessing.
Good health. I always say good health is wealth.
It's wealth. It's
Like,
most
people
definitely
don't
wealth.
understand. You can have as much money as you want, but once you're sick,
Once you're sick, it just doesn't matter.
yeah.
So I had to adjust to that. I had to change my lifestyle in terms of I could no longer exercise. I used to love exercising. That's one aspect of me that I could not do anymore. I had to change my wardrobe. I gained a lot of weight. I gained about 30K plus because of the treatment, because the first line of treatment, you have cortisone, and which are steroids. So the steroids gave me,
Round face.
the moon
Yeah.
face. So
Yeah.
now I have the moon face. I gained a lot on my midsection as well.
Yeah.
So a lot of adjustments had to be made, not only on the physical part of it, the emotional part, having to deal with a chronic condition where, unfortunately, it's an invisible condition for me, because as you can see, you're not
No
able
one
to
can
see that
tell.
I've got lupus, but
Yeah.
I suffer every day. I suffer with pain. I suffer obviously emotionally with the condition, having to live with the condition. And the unfortunate part is it does not show. You need to tell the next person that today I'm in
Yeah.
pain. With many people who have got lupus, one can identify them through the butterfly rash on their face. With me, you can't. I don't have that
Yeah.
rash. I have to explain to you that I am very tired. I'm having chronic pain. I'm
Yeah.
having muscle pain, joint aches, for one to actually understand what I'm going through on a daily basis. So for me, officially right now, Mimo, I don't only have lupus, I've got mixed connective tissue disease, which is the polymyositis, the lupus, and the fibromyalgia. So I'm living with those three, and it's quite difficult, because you need to also understand that lupus mimics other conditions. That is why it becomes difficult to get a clear
diagnose it.
diagnosis
Okay.
from the onset. Your symptoms may be showing that you've got an autoimmune disease. However, which one may not be clear, until you do a series of tests, and as well until you sit down with a health practitioner, specialist, your rheumatologist, to explain the condition that you're faced with. Then only can they have a proper diagnosis. It is not only through your bloods that they can have
Yeah.
a clear direction that you've got lupus.
So would you say it's something that maybe you were born with, but it went into hiding?
Probably. Probably because when I have to look at my life, growing up until now, um, I had many conditions. I had your IBSs, thyroid challenges, those type of things, but it was not clear what was wrong with me. So because genetically in our family, nobody has been diagnosed with that condition,
Oh, okay.
I am actually the first one to come out, and
Okay.
to positively say I'm now living with lupus.
Mhm.
You might find that in our lineage, people have had lupus, but because they didn't have the resources and the know-how of whatever condition that they were faced with at that time, they could not get a proper diagnosis. So with us, because whatever young as we are, once you get a
Yeah.
symptom or you find something happening
You
to your
go
body
and
that is foreign,
check.
you go and check. You would want to find out what is wrong with
Yeah.
you. So with me, it was that it's that condition.
So beside being in pain, muscle pain, what other symptoms are to be looked out for?
You need to look for the butterfly rash.
Okay.
You need to look for your sores in the mouth, in the nose. Some people are very incredibly sensitive to lighting.
Okay.
They're incredibly dry eyes. Joint muscle pain.
Yeah.
Those type of things you need to look out for, and go have yourself checked out. I know it's scary, because you feel that once I get now this diagnosis, what now?
Yeah.
But I always tell people, better that you can take better care of yourself
Yeah.
and that you live longer.
True.
You
true,
know,
True.
ha hona ntho e bohloko jwalo killing you silently that you don't know
You
what
don't
is
know
wrong
what's
with you.
happening with you.
Yes.
You just see your body reacting,
Yes.
changing. And it's sad that even with treatment, some treatment before it helps you, it kind of takes you through the
Yep.
most
It
because I do know
does.
with prednisone is one of the, I feel like prednisone is like, when we grew up, every time you go to the doctor and they give you Panado. But this is the strongest
The
because they
strongest
know,
Panado.
because they know that it fights everything.
Mm.
But at the same time, if you're not taking anything to, I don't know, like myself, because I take prednisone, I need to also take something for calcium.
Yeah, yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
and if you're on high dosage, I do know. I used to also have like a round face. That's the first thing it does. It gives you like a round face. You start, you become hairy. You become like there's a lot of after effects. Prednisone, but it's good for you. It's good for you. And let's say for someone who is now sitting there and they are aware of the symptoms. I mean, we Google, guys.
Yeah. Hey, we do, hey?
We Google.
Come on, Dr. Google.
We Google and the symptoms leads to lupus and they like sitting and worried. What's the message to them?
They should not die in silence,
Yeah.
and they should not freak themselves out with Google.
Yeah.
Google is only but that small percentage that can guide you to say something may be wrong with you.
Yeah.
They need to go to a health practitioner. They can start off first by going to a GP that will refer them to a specialist, so that the necessary tests can be done and that they know what condition that they have, and then they can start treatment. The sooner you start treatment, the better for you. If I were to look back now at my journey, as much as it was scary, I had a lot of uncertainty on what was going to happen to me. I'm happy that I got to know what is wrong with me, so that I can be able to proactively take charge of my life and live. I always tell people that you may have the diagnosis, but it does not ultimately determine how your life will be.
It does not have you.
It does not. That's the thing. It does not dictate to you the type of life that you're going to live, or if ever also that this is the end of your life.
True.
It is
true.
not the end of
True.
your life. Actually, it's the beginning.
It's the beginning.
It's the beginning of
Yeah.
your life, because now you're taking charge of that life
Yeah.
and you're doing everything possible to ensure that you live a positive life.
True.
If I can tell you now, there are people that I know, even friends, colleagues, acquaintances, that don't have lupus, but they have died while I'm still here.
Yeah.
Do you understand?
Yeah.
Even after my diagnosis,
Yeah.
because the first thing that when you get the diagnosis, you are afraid. You think,
True,
oh my gosh,
true.
I'm going to die.
Did you think of death at one point?
I did. Because shortly after my diagnosis, because I was really on social media reading a lot, I came across a foundation, né? And that foundation is Andrea's Gift Foundation. It's a foundation to honor Andrea, who passed through lupus.
Okay.
So it was established by her parents. So I joined the group, Andrea's Foundation, Gift Foundation. From that, I joined the support group. They've got a WhatsApp group.
Okay.
So in the WhatsApp group, we give each other support. We speak about the condition, and how to live positively with the condition. So in that group, there were people that had lost their lives. So I got scared at some point, I got scared. I was like, oh my goodness, am I also going to die?
Yeah.
And am I going to die now? Lord, I can't die now. I still need to live. I want to live. I've got my babies. I've got my life to look forward to, my family. So one thing I can tell you is death is the natural way of leaving this earth. whether or not you have a chronic condition, we are all
When it's
gonna
your
die.
time, it's
We
your
are
time.
all gonna
Yeah.
die, you know? So the most important thing is to live life every day positively. So grab that day as if tomorrow is not guaranteed.
Yeah.
And true, yes, tomorrow is not guaranteed, but live today fully so. Be
As if
present.
tomorrow is not
Yes,
promised.
it's not. You know, live today as if this is your last day on earth.
Yeah.
You know, it's a lot, Mimo. You know how it feels to live with a chronic condition.
Yeah.
It's overwhelming. Some days
Mm.
are better than the others.
True.
Today I'm seeing you today all looking lovely.
Later.
Later in the evening,
Later this-
you might text me and say, Palesa, I'm getting hospitalized.
Exactly.
You know, like it's so unpredictable, you know. That is why I say grab every day by its horns.
Yeah.
You know, and just live.
Yeah.
Just live. And most of my friends, they always say, but when are you so positive? Why are you so positive with everything that you're going through? And I'm like, you know what?
It doesn't help
It
to sulk.
it doesn't help to sulk.
It
It doesn't
to
help
sulk.
to feel sorry for yourself. And I always tell people that if there is breath in you,
Yeah.
you can still live
True.
a positive life,
True.
one that will inspire the next person to look and say, look at this woman. She's going
Yeah.
through so much, but she still has the zeal.
Yeah.
She's still living every day, you
Yeah.
know? So it doesn't define us.
Yeah.
It really does not define us.
I feel like any or every condition, you attack it first with your mental. If you are going to be positive on the first go, then you've already beat
You've won the
whatever,
battle.
whatever you're going through. Because once you let it get to your head, it's game over.
It is game over.
I still believe that most people pass on, like those who are, let's say you are diagnosed and you get to pass on few days later, it's because they somehow let it get to them mentally. And getting the support that you need is so important, because that's why I guess every time you get like a diagnosis, you go through like some pre-counseling or post-counseling to say, okay, we're going to take you through the diagnose, the chances of it getting worse and how we can treat it. Unfortunately, with autoimmune, it's not easy. It's something that cannot be cured.
Correct.
And you have to live with it for the rest of your life and can only be treated. So autoimmune,
It's a lot. It's a lot, and I'm looking also these days
yeah.
how many people are getting diagnosed with all sorts of conditions. And ultimately I get to look at the fact that we need to also start looking at what we eat.
True.
Most of the time it affects the gut. Most of these diseases, we trace it back to the gut. You know, if we can get the gut right, you know, we can minimize most of these symptoms. You know, we can just try and live a healthier and more positive life. I mean, who doesn't want to have takeaways, guys? We all do, you
We
know.
all do, yeah.
We all do. We all
do.
want to have,
Yeah.
after a hectic day of work, that bottle of wine you just put into the glass and just sip away and rest. You know, we want to unwind. We want to do all sorts of things. But equally so, we must remember that your health is your wealth. Take care of yourself, you know. Watch what you eat. If you're able to exercise, you know. Some of us, we can only dream of exercising the way we want to exercise. Fortunately enough, there's a lady, for those that are interested, especially that are diagnosed even with lupus, there's a lady by the name of Melissa Adams. Melissa, in conjunction with the Andrea's Gift Foundation, she has a YouTube channel and also a WhatsApp group that helps people living with autoimmune diseases who find difficulty in exercising. We do exercises there. every evening, you
Yeah.
know, and on a daily basis, we count our steps, you know, that
Yeah.
those small changes that you may take for granted, they go a long way because they keep
Yeah.
you active, especially if you've got challenges with the joint pain and muscle
Yeah.
weaknesses and whatnot. So
Mm.
if you're able to do these things, do it.
Yeah.
You know, you do it.
You know, you just said something, and I just remembered this week while I was at gym. It's the little things that we take for granted. You know, some time back I broke my back, I fractured my spine,
I remember.
and I had so much frustrations that I couldn't do a lot of things. I couldn't walk, I couldn't exercise. And the other day when I was running on the treadmill, and I was like, it's the little things. It's the little things that we take for granted, because all I wanted was to walk.
To walk.
And now I'm running.
Now you're
you know,
running.
I'm running. And with health as well, you know, if you're not a sickly person, appreciate
Appreciate
I
that.
appreciate that. And because with someone living with an autoimmune, like we said, you're okay now, we're talking, and then later on you're hospitalized. The thing is, your
Yes.
body just becomes so,
It's unpredictable.
you're not
this
even in
thing.
control of it.
No, you're not.
And you wake up tomorrow and you've got a pain where nothing happened, but you just like in pain, and you just don't know what to do or how to even explain it to the next person that you woke up but now you're like in pain. So yeah, having a chronic, actually just take care of yourself.
Take care of yourself.
Take care of yourself. Even after the diagnosis, take care of yourself. Take care of your mind. And yeah, also I feel like everyone needs like a strong support, because you can't do it on your own. Even if you wished, you cannot do it on your own. And you mentioned that you have two other diagnoses. Were those triggered by?
The first one, you remember in the beginning, I indicated to you that the first diagnosis was the polymyositis.
Yeah.
So prior to the lupus diagnosis, I had the polymyositis. And then obviously, because I was not getting better on treatment with the polymyositis, that's when ultimately I got hospitalized and got the diagnosis for lupus. And then obviously the other diagnosis is for chronic pain. So chronic pain is, as I'm sitting here talking to you, already my ankles are hurting, my joints are in pain, you know. But we keep it moving every day. You don't sit in your little corner and feel sorry for yourself, because if you do that, you will never be able to live.
One thing I took out from my doctor, he would always be like, go out there and live. And live, you know. Have no restrictions.
You know?
Yes, be conscious that you have lupus, but don't live your life
with fear.
With fear that tomorrow might
not. True.
But
True.
I'm happy that you're doing well. I'm happy that you're educating and sharing a whole lot about lupus and any other conditions. Because honestly speaking, there is someone there sitting who's not aware that they have lupus.
Correct.
And there is a lot.
There is a lot of information on it, on the condition itself, but the data that is out there, specifically speaking to African countries, is very minimal. You know, I think that is the greatest concern, because if you can see, lupus, in as much as it affects women mostly, men also are affected by it, and children also are affected by it. So it's the onus lies on a person to go out there as well and read as much as you can. Read as much as you can, empower yourself, you know, for those that have got access to data, social media, and whatever. Read, you know, when you go to the clinics or whatever in town, ask questions, you know, if you don't understand. And if ever you feel uncertain, there's people like us who are now speaking openly about it. Reach out, you know, reach out, ask questions. I'll be able to help as far as I can. but please do not die in silence.
Yeah.
You know, the condition itself is a very complex condition that needs you to have an army rallying behind you to give you the support that you require. As I'm sitting here, I see a physician, I see a rheumatologist, I've got a clinical psychologist, you know, I am seeing different types of doctors to ensure that I am the way I am today and I'm living positively the way I am living. It's quite a lot, but I'm taking things one day at a time. And I've told myself that just be present in your moment,
Yeah.
you know, be present in this moment. And sadly, if I have to be honest with you, majority of the people find out about the diagnosis so later in life that it has affected them that they can't even work anymore. I don't know, in our support group, I sit there, I read many posts, and I see how people are suffering on a daily basis. They're unable to work because who is going to employ someone that can only work at times 1 week, the rest of the month the person is on sick leave, you know? So they get medically boarded and stuff. And young people, you know, people in their 30s getting medically boarded, it's quite sad.
Yeah.
So when I see such things, I I look at God and I say, thank you, God, that I'm able to still work. I'm full-time employed, you
Mm.
know, I'm working for myself, I'm working for my kids, and I'm active in my job. I'm still productive. I can still do even some of the things that I used to do before, even though not at 100% capacity
Yeah.
like before, but I'm well. I'm
Yeah.
well, and I've taken every day by its horns, you
Yeah.
know.
Now that you mentioned about working, and has it affected you?
Yes, it does affect one because you must remember that with all these medication as well, there are side effects.
Mm.
I have brain fog. Oh my goodness.
Is
And that gets to me, hey? That gets to me. So to actually help myself, I've downloaded a few apps on my phone to actually assist. It's games that I play on the phone to help my memory.
Oh, okay.
Yes, you know.
Is
So
that affected by the lupus or the treatment?
I think it's the treatment
Okay.
itself. I think it's the treatment itself. So I do that to help myself that I
Okay.
can still keep abreast with the developments of my body, my brain and everything. So I do that. And obviously work wise, I am no longer as fast as I used to be. I'm one person that likes working during the evenings. I used to be one person that works throughout the night and still be functional during the day. So
Mm.
now I'm more tired. So I had
Yeah.
to adjust and now I manage my time better. I now know that if I start my morning a little later, I need to work up until later on,
Yeah.
you know. So you just need to also communicate with your
True.
management in your
Yeah.
organization, state your case, you know,
Yeah.
and also don't take advantage of people if they are understanding and now you lose the
Mm.
condition because you don't only ruin it for yourself, you're ruining it
For
for other
everybody
people
else.
who
Yeah.
may have the condition and are suffering. Now, obviously, the organization will say, we don't want to hear stories anymore, you
Yeah.
know? So do your best in everything that you put yourself in. Do your best, you know?
Yeah.
Do your best and communicate if you're having difficulties. Engage and state your case. And yeah, just run with things.
So we did pick up. You communicate. You do not die in
You
silence.
don't die in silence.
And of course, you live. You
You live.
live. Palesa,
You
is there anything
live.
that you still want to share on lupus that you feel like we didn't touch?
I believe we covered most of the aspects pertaining to lupus,
Yeah.
but more than anything else, I strongly appeal to medical professionals,
Please.
ne,
Mm.
to not gaslight patients.
Mm-hmm.
Listen to patients when they tell you that these are now the changes in my body. These are now changes
Yeah.
because with lupus there is no, even with the treatment, there's no one size fits all,
Yeah.
you know. So if I as Palesa tell you about additional symptoms, hear
Yeah.
me out.
Yeah.
Hear me out so that we can find a plan, customize it to Palesa's needs.
Yeah.
You
True.
know,
Okay.
because there is no one size fits all. You can
Yeah.
attest to it even with your condition. There are a couple of people that have the same condition as you, but treatment wise and everything else is not the same, you know.
Yeah.
So if I can appeal to medical professionals, lend an ear and let us sit together and come up with a plan that works for everybody. And also with our government, I appeal that our government recognizes lupus for what it is and gives the support. We hear a lot of noise on diabetes, cancer, hypertension, and all of that. We don't hear enough noise
On
when it comes to
lupus.
lupus.
Yeah.
Lupus is a very complex disease, very deadly, very challenging, and we are losing people on a daily basis to lupus. If we can get government to support even foundations, you know, even NGOs that advocate for this condition, please do.
Yeah.
Please do. Because if I have to be honest with you, Mimo, financially I've felt it. I have
course.
felt it,
Of course.
you know. So I ask myself, if I am working, I have the resources to take care of myself. What is the next person who is sitting somewhere in the villages or somewhere in the location who's got this condition and doesn't have the financial resources?
Yeah.
What impact it has on them? It
Mm.
breaks my heart. It breaks my heart. I don't want to lie to you. And now that Lupus Month is coming up in May, I'm going to be making a lot of noise.
Well, we will be making.
Let's make that noise.
We'll be making a whole lot of noise.
I want people to be
Yeah.
educated,
Yeah.
to be aware, to get themselves tested, and to live positively. You know,
Yeah.
to live positively more than anything else. It is difficult. Life on its own has its challenges. You do not need to be adding on to it by not taking proper care of yourself. Yeah.
I guess that's why I started this podcast in the beginning, where we literally discuss rare conditions. Just because we do not talk about them, it does not mean they do not exist. So, but yeah, thank you so much, Palesa, for coming through and sharing your story and educating people on lupus. And there's more to learn, guys. It doesn't end here. And like Palesa said, let's do our research. I will definitely be making noise in May on the lupus. So until next time, bye.
Bye.